Of course you did.
See if I get my live stream going.
Bro.
There's a really good picture of Lydia. Somebody took when she's running cross country this week, Tuesday. Was Karna Peterson there? Was Karna there? Somebody took pictures of her, and it was, and she looks good. And she's like running. I'm like, how do you look that pretty when you're running? It's ridiculous. Okay, we're cooking with gas. Let me get this. I was telling her about it. She was all embarrassed, but she looks good.
Yeah, I say the names. That episode is pretty good. You like, there's a picture together.
All right.
Animals in the sewer.
Okay, we need to be a better audience than this. You should not be on your phones.
Carson.
You should not be on your phones. You should not be listening to the sound of the sea.
Or Little Pump.
Or Little Pump. No Gucci Gangs.
No Pump
or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I heard that.
Okay? Because honestly, if somebody's invested 4 weeks worth of work, it deserves some attention. And this is going to be pretty cool because it's Josh, right? Right? Josh majors in cool. Okay, are we ready, guys? I'm going to start recording. Ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Welcome to our 6th-hour presentations of independent project work. We're going to start our presentations with Josh.
All right, guys. So my project was to make an FM transmitter. Okay, so let's review some stuff. So if you've ever been in a car, you'll know that there is AM and FM radio types, and that kind of is just the way that radio waves are transmitted. If you've been in physics, that's kind of, we did a little bit a segment on waves and how they work. So AM stands for amplitude modulating, and FM stands for frequency modulating. So kind of a different way that you can transfer information throughout just the radio waves. And so my project was an FM transmitter, so the frequency, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that later, but that's just to kind of get you guys up to speed. So, and then the transmitter is just the piece of equipment that sends it out. It's kind of, my project was very similar to a radio station, but scaled down immensely. So, anyway, here's the lineup of things I had to get before I even started my project. There's copper wire, which I'm going to go through all these actually, so I'll do that real quick. So, copper wire is one of the most conductive metals, and it's very malleable, which just means it's able to bend very easily. And that is what I made a coil with. If you can see on this, it's kind of just a coil. And what that does is that's where the frequency comes in. The distance that it is apart, when you send electricity through it, it like starts creating the frequency that I want to transmit it. And then once it gets that frequency that my phone will push, it'll start emitting that frequency, and then I can receive it on a radio. And then there's some capacitors. There's many capacitors on this, which store. It's kind of like a battery, but it also kind of slows the rate of power without. It's not a resistor, but it slows the rate of power. I don't have pictures for those because
helps stabilize it too.
Anyway, so there's resistors, which restricts the flow of energy. And then there's a transistor, which it's a semiconductor that amplifies electricity as it flows through. What used to be the standard was there's, if you ever heard of a tube TV, if you can imagine, see how small that is, the tube TV was a lot bigger, and the transistor kind of made a lot of things a lot smaller, and it's kind of it's a way to switch on and off, do calculations. They actually make transistors a lot smaller than this, way smaller. But that just because I'm making a radio with it, or a transmitter, it needs to be bigger for me to handle. So There's that too. And then another resistor that I had to use, which is a slightly different number. These were in the thousands. This is a way lower number, which resists less energy. And then there's the more other capacitors that also have the, it makes the flow a little bit different. And I didn't end up...
I don't remember what the difference between a disc capacitor is.
I don't think there was much difference. I think it's the material that's used within it. I follow the guide, which I can talk about later. And then there's I can't even say it. Electrolytic. There we go.
There we go.
Electrolytic capacitor, which is polarized, which means that there's only one direction you can send electricity through, and it creates an oxide layer of insulation, so electricity can't just pass through. And then I had my battery cord and 3.5 audio jack, which is very standard. So,
male or female?
I believe this would be male. Okay. So. And then I had some more ceramic capacitors. Okay, so when I started building, I had to go through my entire instructions because it was a YouTube video, and they didn't list out the parts correctly. So I had to literally watch the video like 5 times and carefully see what was going on to actually understand, what parts I needed. And it was very bad about telling me what type of resistor I was supposed to get. But the guy who, they listed out all the stuff you needed, but it was a very, very general list, and that's not really how this works. So, and so I think some of the highlights was getting all my parts together and beginning soldering. That was a lot of fun. I don't have a whole lot of experience in soldering, so that was kind of cool. Getting the whole thing to work, that was one of the probably biggest moments. Being able to actually hear, and I'll do that in a minute, actually hear something coming from my phone being transmitted to a radio that then plays it. It's really cool. Wireless. It's not Bluetooth, but it's wireless. And then also beginning to kind of understand what my project was even doing. Because when I got it working, I didn't really know what was going on. But it's not magic, and there's something behind it. So I got a lot better at soldering. Not the best yet, but it's all right. And I learned about circuitry and kind of the way that this has to go. The different spots on this have to be grounded, and different spots on this have to be given the right amount of power and the right, the right resistors attached to it to give it that right amount of power.
We gotta get you to spell circuitry right on both circuitry.
Did I spell it wrong on both?
You got the bottom one right. Got the second one wrong.
I put it on both twice. Okay, that's cool. I did put the try in there. Anyway, so my project plan, I kind of wanted, going into this, I kind of saw that there was a way to do this, and I didn't really know too much about FM transmitters, but when I kind of got going, it kind of made more sense, and things I'd learned in previous classes like physics kind of started beginning to make more sense in the way that they work. So I said I would build from scratch a working FM transmitter that will broadcast over real airwaves, hopefully legally. As I found out, this thing is very, very small. It does not, it's not very powerful.
No. So you're not broadcasting.
I would have to change something in the physical for it to actually work better. Since I was following such a basic tutorial, it didn't give me much information about each part and what would I have to do to change that. And I'm not for sure if I would have to up the voltage, if I had to probably up the voltage, adjust some of the, probably the coil too. I bet the coil would have to be changed, and then also affect the frequency or so.
Quick question, Josh.
Yes.
Because when I was looking at your stuff, why does it have to be on a ceramic copper board? Well,
it doesn't, but that's just the way it
That's just the way they did it.
That's just the way it did it, and it kind of was a cool thing. I'd never seen, this is called a copper ceramic board, and it's used kind of to ground out things. So if I connect a positive, and it works by using islands, kind of. So I have little plates on here. I guess you can call them islands. It makes more sense to me. But little plates on top of this, and electricity can't flow through, but you have different levels of your project that you can work with, and the bottom one being ground, so it's a lot easier to work that way too. So you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and show you it working.
You guys ever seen one of these before? You used to be able to buy these really.
Yeah, people usually have them in their cars.
Like you would.
And you can adjust the.
Back in the early day, before you had, gosh, an aux cord, and that was built into your vehicle, you could buy something like this so that you could play your iPod through your radio system.
You gotta adjust it.
So this radio is picking up frequencies.
So I'm playing War.
There you go.
You gotta get it adjusted right. And I can pause it.
Use that too.
It's pretty much live. And there's no delay. And it's not great because kind of the antenna. This coil isn't the antenna, which I took a little while to figure that out. The antenna is actually, I have to attach it somewhere within, I believe it's right here, kind of where the coil ends. But that would also affect how broad of a range it emits, but that goes into voltage too. So, I mean, I pretty much followed my plan. I ordered my parts actually before even week 1, and most of them got here into week 1, and they all got here by week 2. I began working, kind of followed the process of the instructions, a video that I found online. The guy actually paired up with Radio Shack. There we go. This is back when Radio Shack was a lot bigger, I guess.
Radio Shack actually was still Radio Shack, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, and so I followed that pretty much, and it took a little bit, but then I finally got it going, and then I experimented with antennas and where I needed to put the antenna, and so that took a little while. Yeah. I think, yeah. I couldn't get the range I wanted, but I think that was pretty cool. Any questions?
So if you built a huge one of these, would it be legal or illegal?
It would be illegal because you need to have
a registration
with the government.
Yes.
Because you can't
FCC.
Just have random people transmitting on any frequency because that's chaos.
Yeah. So it's all of that is controlled just like.
So that device is illegal?
Not unless it
if you
broadcasts within a certain range.
Yeah. If you broadcast a lot higher, I mean, you know, on an actual radio station that has, I mean,
right.
Yeah. What's up, Nate?
So if you have one strong enough to like reach the whole world, could you brainwash people with?
You know, Nate, I don't know. That'd be a lot of voltage, and I mean, you have to get through a lot of the earth.
Yeah, but when there's a will, there's a way, right?
Yeah, there is. That's true. You know, I'll have to look into that.
I was gonna say, yeah, taking over the world.
Right?
Make that your next project.
Yeah.
I think we should tell North Korea that Kim Jong-un's not God.
Ooh, using radio.
Well,
Maybe
don't
they would
tell
all
that
just,
to
like, start
Donald
looking
because
out
he's
for
in
the
love
light.
with him now. So
Really?
yeah,
Actually, he's God.
yeah.
Oh.
It's very good, Josh. Anybody have questions? Some legitimate questions.
Anyone want to look at it?
You guys want to see it? It's a pretty cool circuit board. I was just wondering because of the copper board. I was looking at original circuits and I was like, why the copper plate?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could have done it any way I wanted, but
yeah, it's super cool.
I'll show the camera.
Show the camera. It's pretty awesome. I love it.
There's the coil.
I don't. That was the part I just couldn't quite get it to compute. Them also elderly, so.
Yeah, they're brainwashed.
So I was like, why does it need to be a conductor in the bottom? This made it kind of a super cool thing to build it on. I just didn't necessarily understand why.
Yeah, I've never used it before, and I don't really know anyone who has used that before. So maybe it's a.
So when you did the copper, did you just like put it around a pencil? What did you put it around to control the coil?
It was a bolt. They kind of gave specifics. I don't really know if the size necessarily would matter. They just picked a bolt size. I think.
Right. See, I would bet how close the proximity of the coils makes a difference
the
too.
distance. They gave me specific distances
Okay.
to follow.
That's cool,
But
Josh.
I wanted to mess with it, but then I mean I'd already soldered it all, and the way I set up the board, it was kind of hard to mess with. So.
Right. Once you've done it.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it works great. That was pretty cool.
So I've seen like.
Okay, Brant.
I'm up.
Oh, by the way,
I've seen like
Josh, clapping for John. Good job, Josh.
You've seen what?
You're on, beard boy.
Oh yeah. You can. You can get those are the. This is a copper clad board. But you can also get other boards. Yeah.
There's other things you can make circuits
Yeah, you
with.
can and then you solder to draw a pathway for electricity to follow. This is a little different. I've never.
Alright, so we're gonna stay on this side of the room. It's just safer. I'm just gonna say. Look at that, right there.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
You look carefully before you lasso one of those
It's a lot more
out of the pen of life,
You're
you
not
know?
gonna have any. It's gonna be a lot cleaner than this. We're more visual too.
It's cool. Very cool, Josh.
Really quickly, I found like an Android screen share that I have to install.
Okay.
She took him to Canada. I never gave him back. We'll yell at her. Give me my headphones back. 10 on me, my iPhone. What do we do? If you break them,
Thank you.
look at pump.
Okay.
You're what?
Are you ready, Brant?
I am.
Okay, talk to us, sir.
Alrighty. So I did sports edits in Adobe Photoshop, Adobe CC, and so pretty much my project. I've done the basics of sports edits in Photoshop before. So basically, my project was just to become more advanced and try to use the layer mask and have deeper layers. And I also wanted to learn the basics of the dispersion effect. Yeah, so week one I just researched videos and got used to working with Adobe again because it's been a long time since I did it. And then one of the hardest parts is just finding good pictures to use and good demonstrations that work. So this is one of the ones I just kind of did to get back into it. It was really easy. Pretty much all you do is take an American flag, add that to a layer, and you make it soft light, which means it's pretty much just more transparent and you can see through it. And then I put Michael Phelps over it and cropped out his chest so it stuck out more. This was my first attempt of, this one wasn't really a dispersion, but more of the basics, and just trying to figure out how to do it, and so I could do it faster and more effectively when I actually got to the dispersions. This is a video, pretty much just how, like the basics of how to do the dispersion effect. Right now I'm just deleting it so I didn't have to make a new document, but I'll explain it when it gets to the part. Okay, so I think I'm about to do it.
So talk to us about what tools you're using and what you're doing.
Okay, so right now the app that it's using is Adobe Photoshop, and right now I'm liquefying the photo, which pretty much all that does is it just stretches out the photo and liquefies it and kind of melts the photo, so then you can add a layer mask over it, which just allows you to manipulate the photo more, and it kind of decides on what shows up over the layers. So when I liquefy, I'm liquefying it so when I use a splatter, like the jersey and the color will show up over the layer mask. And it looks really weird, but this is pretty much the only way you can do it. There's other methods like copying it and copying the photo and then just deleting it, but I found this was the easiest and most effective. So right here, I'm adding the layer mask. You have to make it black if you want it to show up, at least in the dispersions. And then you just find brushes that make the photo look like it's disintegrating or separating. This one wasn't really a dispersion, more just a splatter. And you can see here when I'm adding the paints, that's his jersey's color that I just separated from him that are showing up. And this one wasn't very good. It was kind of just a quick, basic one I made. But yeah, and then you switch brush sizes and brushes to give it different shapes. This was before I downloaded other brushes because I found out that more diamond-shaped and square-shaped brushes are better for the dispersions. That's pretty much all there is on that one. Week 2, I wanted to work on the dispersion effect a little more and continue finding better methods. And I downloaded a lot of brushes, which helped out a lot. This was the second one I made, which was a lot better than the first. And I used the same method, except I only used the right half of the photo, and then I put the Green Bay Packers logo on the background and made it more transparent so you could see through it. This was another one I made of Steph Curry. I dropped a pattern. I just pulled a pattern off of Google, and that's what the diamond shapes are. And I just made it soft light so you could see it, but it didn't cover up Steph Curry. In week 3, I was just working on sports edits. This was another one I made of Jordan Nelson. It was just a really simple one. It wasn't a dispersion, but I just pulled off the Packers logo and had a big splatter brush that I used. And then the rest of it was just a green background, and I did the diamond concept again to add pattern to it. This is just a video of how I made it. So here I'm pulling off the diamond pattern. Okay, yeah, so here I'm adjusting the photo and so I'm going and changing it to soft light. You can see it makes it a lot less lighter and more transparent, so you can do more things with it. I didn't show it in this video, but I adjusted the Jordan Nelson in the photo to make him, I made it a more rough picture through Photoshop. I can't think of the, what's the?
What?
Topaz Labs, that's what Yeah, and so I used Topaz Labs and added filters to him because it was a more rough background, so I wanted to make him fit in more to the background that I had. And I did the same thing here and just making this a little lighter so it fits the picture better, and then I just added the cropped out Jordan Nelson to the photo. Okay, this is just an example of how to crop out people. So this was actually one that I did last year, but it was a good video and it shows the concept. It's sped up quite a bit, but basically the tool is a quick select tool, and it what it does is once you click on a color like the white, it'll outline the rest of the white armbands because it uses colors that are similar to the color you selected, so it makes a general outline. And then the best thing to do is just to go back and touch it up so you can get as close to the picture as you can, so you don't have a bunch of extra background hanging around. Week 4, I just continued making edits and made my presentation. This was one of my favorite ones that I made. It was one of the most in-depth ones and probably took the most time, but basically what I did is I took a picture of Dublin and took the Irish flag and made it soft light and put light brushes, which are the little lines you see, and cropped out McGregor and added topaz filters to them. The project overview, I feel like I learned more and got better at Photoshop. I got the basics of dispersion, but there's still a lot more to it, and I feel like I could get a lot better with more practice. I feel like I learned how to use layer mask and had deeper layers than I previously had. Mastery of technology. I learned a lot, but there's still a lot to learn with the dispersion and just all the other aspects of Photoshop that I haven't really touched on yet, but I became way more familiar with the layer mask. I hadn't really used that before, so that was something cool that was definitely new, and I thought I had deeper layers and a better concept of how to use the brushes.
Okay. Very good. Guys, how many, besides Blake and Grant, anybody else messed with like topaz filters with, I think, so Cardi did. So that package that you get, like for trial, you can use for 30 days, I think. But the entire package is like over $1,000. Like there's sections of it like $350, $350. I mean, it's outrageously expensive. I mean, it's super cool, and I love them. But I mean, wow, the price of it is
for like professional photographers.
Exactly, that's the whole
what it's
thing.
for, I think.
I mean, they let you play with it because they want you to make great stuff, and then say, oh, I want to continue to make great stuff. But it is not cheap. There is nothing cheap about it.
Yeah, you just have to keep
Well,
making
and then a lot of it, like,
yeah.
You have to make new
You just have
accounts.
to
and
make a new
email account. Yeah.
Well, I don't have to use a new email. I just have to put in the same email and it'll give me those trials.
But will it do that for
Yeah.
another 30 days?
I've
Yeah.
done that like 20 times.
Yeah.
A lot of the really good brushes too, you have to
Pay for,
and-
or have the paid version.
Yeah, and like it gives you credits, and you can only use like a certain amount of credits that month, and then you have to pay it over. But I didn't do any of that because.
See, I mean, I think it makes some really good looking stuff, but wow, you know, somebody's. I don't know if they're making their money back or not, because I'm sure people can figure that out. But that's amazing. So, thank you very much, sir. We did good. We sort of clapped. We did sort of clap, I think. Blake and Cardi.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Showtime. Showtime.
Take showtime at the Apollo.
Cardi, I call the chair. You can stand.
Ah, bring another chair up there.
It's fine.
Go get my other chair.
Oh, I'm gonna be annoying. Right there. That's
Josh, are you dying over there?
I'm fine. I'm watching.
Hey, look. It's not
Maybe if
bad.
you go to sleep, I will stab you in the head with the
I
pillow.
like that.
Like,
Yeah, the winner
Oh,
of the jersey.
Trust me, if it was in my closet right now.
What's wrong with your eyes?
I don't know, where's that jersey at? In my closet.
Is it really?
Do by a spot.
Okay. Oh, I told you they called you Hebley on the radio this last.
Oh, they are.
Right.
Yeah.
No, the Clay Center people.
Yeah.
And they would describe you as an old-fashioned style football player, meaning like you had all your basics. They'd say, that Hebley, he's just really an old-fashioned ball player, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't call him Hebley, come on. I wanted to call in there, but
Hebley or Hebel?
Hebley or Hebel?
Never Hebel.
Never Hebel.
Yeah.
Never. Okay.
So- Okay, we're ready.
Yeah.
Because we were gonna come up with something like super creative.
But then we're like,
wait a minute.
well, why would we do that when we can just call it the Ebola Virus podcast?
So that's what we rolled
So
with.
that's what we did.
And yeah, and people know it's us. So like when we follow them,
Yeah.
I feel like it builds a bigger
follow
audience.
them, not them. Shut up. Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, so basically our entire goal was to develop a sports podcast, produce weekly episodes, and also make a social media which
yeah,
we could follow people and interact with people and get them to see our podcast too. So that's pretty much, yeah.
it's a great description.
Pretty much exactly what we did.
Okay.
This PowerPoint is just
Well,
outstanding, boys.
it's easier to talk and explain than it is to read.
Yeah, sell it.
Okay. We're gonna go to our project. No, I'll just go here.
Okay.
I already have it up.
Well, that sounds good.
Alright, that's our plan. We'll just talk about it here.
Yeah.
We're not gonna make you read, but
So,
we did basically
Exactly.
our week, every week, Monday, we would plan. We'd make a Google Doc,
mhm.
and we'd write down our thoughts, what we wanted to talk about. Tuesday, a lot of times we would record like maybe
Like
half of it,
20 minutes of an episode maybe.
and then kind of plan for what we're gonna do the second half.
Mhm.
It's kind of easier to do it in portions, I would say, because like a couple times we would just try to record the whole thing,
And we got rushed.
and then we
So.
would get rushed. So we by like week 2 or 3, we were definitely recording in like halves. So and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday or block day we would finish recording. Then Friday, I don't know.
What, Friday?
Yeah.
Well, Friday it was kind of just like trying to find some stuff
Yeah.
to think about next week. But
Because Thursday nights we would do most of the editing, or Thursday and AP,
yeah,
because we want to get it up Thursday nights because I feel like that's the best night to get it up. So
and that was also
Every-
the day we got done recording.
so yeah, we'd upload basically like 8 o'clock every Thursday night, and that was how it went.
Yep. So yeah, basically we stuck to our project plan completely.
Yeah, I mean
Make a podcast every
every
week.
week. Nothing
Kind of
too
what we did. So.
Sweet. Go to the next one. We'll go.
Nice slideshow, Mark.
Did you get what? Did you didn't show me your Google Drive because didn't you just that where you put your? That's where you had your
That was our
plan. Okay.
Okay, master technology.
So
We're
let's
we're
just show them.
gonna
That's
show
easy.
you guys this.
So basically, we had to make an account on Podbean.
Okay, we spent like $50 overall this whole project.
Yeah.
Not because we figured, everyone can make a podcast for free.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
It turns out you can't just put it on iTunes without another thing
So basically,
or
let's get
website
through this.
because you have to have an RSS feed or whatever that is.
Uh-huh.
We're like premium members here now.
Yeah.
We are like,
Well, our boy Julius hooked us up.
yeah. So, alright.
Okay, tell that story. 'Cause that's pretty
Well,
funny.
Julius.
Well, okay, but I'll explain this. So
Yeah, Carson. You,
This is
or
our
you can
biggest-
argue about it.
It's our
which would
biggest
be like-
problem and solving moment, so we'll just tell it while we're here. Week 2, we went to upload another episode, and turns out that the thing we had already bought for like $36 was only like 1 episode a month. What happened here, folks? Okay, anyways.
Plug in.
So, but it turns, like only 1 episode a month. Well, we wanted to do weekly, obviously. So, you can only buy it in like year packages, but like we didn't want to pay for the full year. That
No,
was like
yeah.
another $100. So we're like, can we just get the month? And so this guy, like, he sent me like a special package, and so he hooked us up. Julius Fronda works for Podme.
Yeah.
Shout out to him.
Awesome
If
guy.
we could get this,
Was he just a sales guy or was he actually
you
a
go to, like a chat
tech
hub,
dude? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
and like
So he sells products.
I don't know why.
And so the whole reason that was a big problem was because we wouldn't be able to upload it anywhere
Okay.
if we didn't have that because we wouldn't be able to put it on iTunes
Yeah.
without Podbean either.
Okay, yeah,
so.
and I'll explain that. So, Podbean is basically going to give you an RSS feed when you upload it, which is. I kind of want this to go so I can show you our RSS feed.
I was gonna say straighten it out. For some reason, it's not reading. It says no.
Come on.
Cardi, fix
Okay.
it.
So are you seeing? So it's not you.
Yeah, I'm
Now
seeing
you
my
see it. You see it.
BT board.
Well, you make it down there too. Okay.
We gotta have visual. So it's got an art. I'm just making feed it in the submission. That's computer.
Seriously, you're on the BT board and you don't know how to fix this?
Well, I mean, I think it's something to do with his computer. See, I think it's frozen. See how we can't.
Those things are so old.
Computer's frozen.
Should we switch over to Blake's computer?
You have it on play?
We don't have the power.
Okay, we're gonna quickly.
But we can still.
Do the original Fortnite dance.
Default.
Default.
AT pose is coming from
It's frozen. That's why. You guys can argue in between. I did not. Because I listened to your stuff. That I couldn't find or missed the part where Mr. Meyer called in.
Oh, that's peak Ebola Virus podcast.
Yeah.
So Mr. Meyer.
He did call us.
Mr. Meyer came on.
We did have a special goat appearance.
It was all downhill.
A special
after that.
goat
It was such a
appearance.
great moment.
Okay, Carson, lock into your stuff and continue this, please.
Did you have like
Conrad?
someone else appear on the podcast?
Would you like to live till tomorrow?
Alex Goodman.
yes.
Alex Goodwin and Caden
I
came
thought they
on
were.
too.
No, I don't care. Don't care. You don't need that phone right now.
I was looking at.
You don't need it.
Conrad.
Conrad.
During your podcast.
We were sorry. I thought it was intermission here.
I listened to
Josh, are you
yours.
live over there?
I am.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm not above hurting people. I'm bulletproof at this point in my career. So.
Yeah.
Okay, Jesus.
What are they gonna
You back up and running, bud?
Well,
Yes.
my Google Chrome is not.
Is it toast? What's wrong? What's going on?
Oh, super.
Like, entertain the crowd.
Is it
here.
2 o'clock?
Entertain the
It's
crowd, Blake.
2:06, Blake. Blake, it's 2:06.
What's that mean?
Sing some John Denver for us.
Uh,
I'm going to put you to work tomorrow.
Free bill.
What are we doing?
You're going to get us sort stuff into baggies. Can you handle that?
Were they Star Wars baggies?
They are not. I wish they were.
Okay.
I wanted Star Wars.
I need.
Can you handle that? You'll be like
Our master
counting.
technology section is huge.
Yeah.
let's
What is
just
I can handle
let's
it.
just come back to Master of Technology. Well, that way we can talk about our other stuff maybe before.
Is Chrome still not working for
It's a
you?
while to pull up.
Blake-
Yeah, I like a little bit.
So what happened to
Like,
Chrome?
Go get your computer. Well, we're gonna double computer this.
Is Chrome toast on you?
Yeah, my Chrome. Whenever I restart my computer, sometimes.
It won't work?
I'm so excited for
I
Tina.
wonder what that is.
And
I want to run.
cheesy
So
potatoes.
Blake can show.
Bro.
You're thinking about fatties tonight already?
Like,
Oh,
Or home?
Matthew's mom is making the team meal tonight.
The smoker
Last
has a timer on it. What?
This is Jake. Is that cool if
Yeah.
we just show that?
The timer on the smoker right now.
You can do
is
that,
always
and as
turned
long as
off.
it gets
And I got
before I can
home,
get to
was
see
like,
it.
Mom, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
That's all.
And then what? The smoker
Okay.
is
Show back on the red folks.
I did, I got you.
The meat and everything.
I will look at, I'll go through it again.
But I turned it back on for 4 hours.
Should have had a camera stat to pick out one that one that go to the street, whatever that was.
Okay, folks.
It was.
Okay,
You want on the
Let me
sticks?
get on the poppies.
Okay.
They can't give it to Steve.
Alright. So, there we go.
Hey,
Alright.
we're back.
So Podbean, we make our account, okay? And so to upload a podcast, I'll kind of go through that process. Go to publish. You see all of our episodes here. So we're going to publish a new episode. We basically will just choose an MP3 file
that you've created.
that we've
Right.
created in GarageBand. We'll talk about the GarageBand part later. But, and yeah, then I'll just so this will how it look. You'll have like our file, and then put our title, and then I would put timestamps too. So
That was good, and that was very helpful.
because people don't want to listen to a whole hour and a half of us, I don't blame them. So they can just kind of skip around to parts.
I don't blame them either.
All right.
Oh,
And so this is how it'll look for like people who like click on the Podbean website. But the really cool thing about Podbean is it's all synced up with iTunes, including like how many downloads we have. So we have 92 downloads on the first episode, and that includes like everything on the iTunes. So how that works?
Does it give you any analytics?
Yeah,
it gives us some
That we had to pay hefty money for that stuff.
hefty money.
Hefty money.
So yeah, here's our statistics. We had one person in Sweden.
In
It says
Sweden?
0%, but whatever.
We had one in Sweden.
Yeah, we had one person in Sweden.
However,
so
that
That's hilarious. I
Yeah, 300 or 213 all-time downloads for 4 episodes.
That's pretty
It's
good.
alright. It's alright. But yeah, going back to the iTunes thing.
Publish. Oh.
So feed iTunes.
Oh yeah.
Right here is our RSS feed. If I click on that,
Here's your code
it's our
behind it.
code behind it. So what I had to do is submit that code to iTunes, and they took like a week to
I remember that.
review it. But once they did, our stuff is like automatically on iTunes. So in like your podcast app. So I'm gonna go over to our Twitter. So like I have an iTunes link.
Edit.
Well, so like iTunes, it'll take you to this, which I should have, and you can see all of our 4 episodes for free in iTunes. And it's really easy on your podcast app, and it would be like instant, like right when you post on Podbean, it's immediately on my app. So that's kind of cool how it works. And so you have to basically like you can't just have a podcast on iTunes without having it on a website because you're basically paying for that RSS feed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
What does RSS stand for? Do anybody remember from freshman year?
Come on, guys. Come on, guys.
Do you remember? Real Simple Syndication.
Real simple.
That's what it stands
I was
for.
thinking something a lot more.
No. It's basically it's the code that allows someone for
We
you
can
to
show our
broadcast and
Twitter.
someone to follow.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a garage. So talk about the Twitter.
Okay, yeah. So while he's pulling up GarageBand, we did the Twitter too, which we got our logo made by Chris, which very good job, Chris. That was a great job.
Yeah.
And basically on here we just kind of like, so we'd send out questions for our weekly, like here's one, with the hashtag Ask Evil Buyers, and like people
You
would
ask questions.
people would send in questions, and we'd answer them on the podcast. And so, yeah, we just have fun little tweets like that. And then we did a jersey giveaway too, which Conrad won, of course.
Yeah,
and
we gotta have fun with our audience. So that was the point of the social media.
yeah, so
And pretty
like,
much you have to use that to promote.
there you go. That's our giveaway there.
That look on your face, Blake, is the look that we constantly see.
So what we did with that is like we had like a trivia question on our podcast, and like people would DM us like the answer to enter.
And then
That's
we
cool.
do stuff like this. Best John never saw, and Winter will close next week's podcast. So, of course. So we just did, I don't know, fun stuff like that. And of course, making sure people know the podcasts are coming out.
And then we would just post them all with both the iTunes link and the Podbean link. I don't really know because I can't really see how many people just use iTunes. I don't really know the exact.
I was gonna say because
I feel like more people do use iTunes than Podbean, but
they do. It's just I don't think you can see the analytics behind that.
no,
right?
it's just Podbean includes iTunes, but it doesn't like show me which is iTunes and which
Right.
is Podbean. So yeah, that was the Twitter account.
Do you
I'm
want to show
gonna
the GarageBand?
plug in my computer now.
Okay.
Pretty
and
bad.
we're gonna show the GarageBand stuff.
Let's go party. Let's go.
Let's see if let's hope it doesn't freeze. So they have yeah.
There we go.
Okay,
So you had
so-
your opening that you created, and then
So we've had 4 hours and 45 minutes of total content on our podcast in 4 weeks. So
Dang.
here is, I think this is episode 3. Yeah, the GarageBand we hadn't really used since like
Used a whole lot since
since
freshman year,
freshman year.
probably.
I
so
bet
that
not.
we had to kind of learn about that. We watched some tutorials on YouTube, but really it was kind of easy
Really
to figure out
simple
once we
stuff.
Call back.
so-
we would just use a snowball microphone,
Mhm.
and pretty much all you got to do is like put that as you just set it, and it would work.
There
And
you go.
I mean,
press
it's
record
really
and
simple. You press record and it works. So.
yeah, we like
You have to set it up in preferences or
YouTube.
whatever.
Yeah.
YouTube has like their creator studio. They have like royalty free stuff, so
Mhm.
we would use that. Like this rock intro is. Yeah, so that's we would just record, and then we'd stop, and then we'd record again if we needed to stop, and it worked like pretty well. So once you're done, we would edit it a little bit, but not that much. So you would just share song to iTunes right here, and then it would just basically, once it was done, it would go to this, all 4 episodes, and I just drag them to my desktop, and then upload that file to Podbean.
Podbean.
See, it'd be interesting. I don't think I don't think it does it. I mean, with all honesty, I don't know. If GarageBand would allow you to make markers of your content that would export into, that'd be interesting if it would be able to do that. Because that would have saved you guys a ton of work. If you could make markers like chapter markers so that you would, because you went through and listened and marked.
Yeah. I don't know. We should probably have looked into that.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if it does that, but that would be a great tool for anybody who's podcasting.
Like we had like call-ins, and there was no like advanced radio technology with that. We would literally just put them on speakerphone. We'd put them up close to the microphone and just.
It worked.
It actually sounded really good, surprisingly.
Huh?
So.
Wait, that's not how they do it on the big shows.
I feel like that's not how they do it.
Yeah.
Maybe it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, we had Goat on.
And Alex and Kate.
And Alex and Caden. Yeah. Is that all?
So I mean, that's kind of the mastery of technology. We covered GarageBand, Podbean, Twitter. So.
Yep. And then result, show Twitter account. We already did that.
Yeah.
Podcast feed. Well, I guess we kind of did that too, but yeah, I'm not really gonna play.
I mean, yeah,
we're not really gonna play a whole episode.
Just play a part. I mean, what like if you've got a portion.
What time does it go?
I listen to a lot of your
Play the
stuff.
part about Eli Manning and
Let's play Ghost. Let's play Ghost.
TB12.
Yeah, that was the part I was looking for.
Okay, I'm gonna go look on the time.
Eli Manning.
All the good ones, apparently.
Yeah, the Almeyer.
He's right there.
I know. He's been 44.
44-35.
Alright. Do we need to plug it in or?
I plug it in,
What's
yeah.
the sound?
Sounds right. It should be right there next to Cody there. And then there's that. So you've got to turn it on with the. There's a little silver remote, and it's the top right button. You just got to click it and turn it on, and then you got it in your hand.
Yeah, okay. I'm clicking.
I feel like it's playing. Like you need to turn that up because it's not playing through these speakers.
So test it. See if you got feed. Like if you unplug before you unplug it, like you should be able to hear
What
the
am I
feed
pointing at here?
if you've got it cooking.
You know.
Top right?
Is it this?
No, it's the one that Blake's got.
That's it.
There you go. Okay, here we go.
Hey, go. Why is it buzzing?
Okay, because it's Blake's computer, our Cardi's computer.
What's up, guys?
Here we go.
All right, so we're here with
Carson.
most of you know that
Card is your I know it's
Alan Meyer, our coach here.
your computer.
Coach,
Wait a
we were
minute.
wondering.
Well,
Just go ahead. Just play it with without that.
that was
Okay, well that's not how it sounds.
So like that's just the speakerphone and the microphone sounds like.
Right.
Okay, well, in my biased
Yeah.
opinion, I think the Broncos will go 10-6, make the playoffs.
That's exactly kind of the season I predicted.
Alright, well, yeah. I mean, good on Go because he like got out of his class for that. So thanks to him.
Yeah.
But
So did you have the Broncos beating the Chiefs?
I did.
Blake did, but
And well, actually, in the podcast, I said they were gonna lose. In real life, I made a $5 bet and lost.
so if you want to listen to it, go listen to it or not. It's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, biggest success
Just
would be getting episode 2 up after all the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And like figuring out, and then we getting the premium account and like getting that hour and a half episode up later on Thursday night.
seeing people were actually watching it.
Yeah, and like 92 downloads on the first
listening.
episode was really good. And that was kind of cool. Problem solving moment is also when Julius helped
Julius.
us out. But also just like I don't know, figuring out it for the
How to
first time.
plan stuff too, I
and like
think.
getting it approved by iTunes.
Do you have any carryover for like when from one episode to the next, like someone would listen to one thing and then ask you about something on the for the like for the next episode? Do you have any carryover for that like
We
that?
didn't
Like
really
any
have,
questions?
we didn't really have any carryover questions. I don't think a whole lot.
No, we had a lot of fun questions though.
Yeah.
Like, Nate asked like who the better buyer
Best rapper in the game.
And, yeah.
And the best rapper and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, there was some random stuff too, but
Leroy Burks
yeah.
was asking us stuff on
Leroy.
Twitter too, so we had a wide audience of friends.
Okay.
So. What would we redo? Nothing.
Nothing really.
It was just fun.
I don't think, yeah.
I think you guys really were invested in this, which is awesome.
Yeah. Biggest learning moment. Probably getting,
Talking.
Well, yeah.
When I was little, my mom taught me how to talk. So that was important.
Yeah, we had to
Practiced arguing with
Once
Brent.
we learned how to speak English, it was really all downhill from
And
there.
learning how to argue with Carson.
Like you've been doing that for
Yeah.
years.
But really, like the whole technical side behind it was more than I thought, because I figured you could just press record and it'd be everywhere. But
Right. No.
Yeah.
getting into RSS feeds,
Figuring out
It's a good thing to learn.
Figuring
And
out
GarageBand,
Podbean
of
and
course.
iTunes and GarageBand, how all those things work together was kind of
Getting
probably
content to not
That's
yell.
good. That's good, guys.
Alright.
Well, I really thought it was entertaining and fun. So, and I thought it was nice that it was a good thing that you chose something with your interest area to make this happen at the same time, and it's awesome. Very good, guys. You did
what a
well.
whirlwind of a presentation. A lot of things went wrong.
You did well.
A lot of things went wrong. Yes. Yo, you get a question?
Kaisa.
Oh, Matthew. That's a question.
You are next week, Dee.
What time do you get out?
Let me check and see if we got time, because
Not very much.
What about getting content?
2:21.
Oh, yeah,
So
we
we're
didn't
gonna
even
get
talk
out of
about-
here at 2:40. So
The
we got
biggest
time
learning
for you.
moment was probably for Conrad, teaching him what a red light was.
Did
and
he-
what the red
He
light
would be
meant.
screaming in the other room.
And I'd have to say, Conrad, the red light is on. What does that mean? It means you can't scream.
And Conrad would say, "Oh,
How'd you even hear me? It's soundproof.
no, it's not."
When you're
totally soundproof."
screaming at the top of your lungs, Conrad.
Oh,
That was a good rest
I don't know. I
He
just
literally just got
I think it would be kind of cool. I don't know.
Well, no, you didn't make it. You made it. So.
keep the podcast going.
You need it.
No PDA
Keep
kids.
the post
Don't hold me. Matthew's just resting.
It's just a note.
Okay, you ready, Miss Kaisa? All right, here we go.
So my forward project was working in Illustrator, and I was going to make like 2D things. Yeah, I just wanted to be able to create something from scratch, and because I've been working in Photoshop, and I wanted to just I also wanted to learn how to image trace. So these are some of my ideas that I had for Illustrator. Then I found this one really good, step by step. I don't know how to get it over. But it's just like, how to move this over so I can show everyone.
Oh, like to for the link?
Yeah, well I had this and it's just like a step-by-step thing, which,
Oh, because it's on your other desktop.
Yeah.
It won't switch to another desktop for you.
well, yeah, so I just like
Projector that one.
step-by-step on this. So the first week I didn't have it installed because I had a cross-country week, so I just mostly watched videos and stuff. Week 2, I watched more videos and I did most of the building of my project. So I made the houses and stuff, and it was a whole lot of just, like, this is really sped up version of it. To just kind of show how I just copied and pasted the houses and, like, you reflect them. Just change the sizes and colors to make the skyline. That's kind of I added like details and stuff, like the fence, clouds, skyline, and I practiced more of the image trace, stuff like that. Image trace was probably one of the harder things for me to learn, because I found this weird like tutorial about how to do it, and it kind of, I don't know, it kept on using these commands, but it wouldn't tell you how to like the guy would press keys and stuff, it wouldn't say what to do. So I found that you just press options at the top, and my trace, and then press make, and then it'll select all the edges, and then you keep that highlighted, you copy it, and then you cut it, and then you delete the other stuff, and then just save what, and then paste it, and that's like smooth the edges.
Didn't like one of them that you tried to use took it back and forth between Photoshop?
Yeah, that was the same tutorial, but then I kind of figured out a different way. Because they wanted me to like change the saturation and stuff on, I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah, you didn't have to do
that. So this is, I learned that the biggest thing I think was just about layers and how important it was to be organized, because I was not. Then I had to go back and find like what window was attached to what house, and so that it wouldn't show up actually. So I just had to make a ton of different layers and group them together. Just one of my things was so I could just group the houses together, so I could move the whole house instead of moving everything in there. The help button at the top, like right there, and I just was going to find it, and it would like, that was really helpful. The artboard is pretty much just this white area, it's the workspace. The select tool is what I used for like trees and stuff. I would just kind of, the tool is how I make circles. The scratch area is just this like gray space outside, so it won't show up on your final project when you save. When I was trying to save it, I had a lot of trouble like having it save with just the white part. It would try to save the scratch board too, or like here's an example, like it would save it like that when I wanted it to look like that. So then Mrs. Dinkin, I asked Chris some question, and then you just had to save it not as a PDF, you had to save it as something else, and then just press a button that said just artboard.
Yes.
Is it GIF?
No. Not a GIF.
So reflection, if I were to do this again, I would start with a better idea of what I would want to do.
Like to make?
Yeah, because I took a long time trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Start actually using Illustrator sooner. I'd be more organized because of all those, the layers, it's hard to figure out. I'd get better tutorials for the image trace because that was really confusing. And save more often because I lost some work.
Did you lose some work?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be brutal. You lost 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why did I move this over? Because I'm going to show.
Won't let you change screens?
No.
Look at the plus over there. Can you hit the plus over there? So like reduce like what you did. See the plus over there on the right? Can you
Well, I
hit
already
that?
have, there's desktops, like I have different ones.
Because it's only going to show you one screen. So if you want to, just unplug, yes, and then change your screen and then plug it back in. Because what it does is it will show from one screen. There we go.
So for this is like when I make houses, I would just press this, make like a square or something for the main of the house. And then this tool right here was really helpful. So you could just like draw a circle and then it would make it, or like an oval if I was doing some windows or something. I used what they're called, anchor points and paths. So like the path, you can see it just kind of follows around, so I could find, like I would do the angles of the roof like that, and then
That's cool. Very, very good. I'm trying to think if there's something else I want to ask. Your color choices, how did you like base that on a template, or did you just kind of run with what you thought looked good?
I just kind of went with what I thought looked good. So that's like my final project.
That style like that is called 2D flat. And it's very popular in graphics, animation, and logo. Especially right now, it's just very popular in how you present graphic design. So it's pretty cool that you learned how to do that. Very good. Did a good job. All right, let's give her a nice round of applause.
No kidding.
Okay, so let's see. We're at 2:30.
Yeah, mine was so much better than your project.
Because Logan, you're gonna need a little time. I'm just thinking. Can you do it? Is 10 minutes enough? Wait a minute. It's Logan and then Curtis, or Curtis and then Logan? I have Logan and then Curtis, but is 10 minutes going to be enough for you?
I mean, if I run out, I can always continue it later.
It's up to you, okay?
I'll do it too.
Okay, then Logan, bring it. For some reason, people just are trying to. It's like, leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Let me just pull everything up here.
Well, okay. Why don't you look like you've been asleep? See, who's fucking confused and lost these? Didn't you go to bed last night, Josh?
Me?
Yeah.
Like 12.
Snoopy glad to know the system.
This is good, but not much before that, probably.
Huh?
Probably not too much before that.
It was about 12:55. I didn't. I still didn't quite get it.
All right.
It's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
So for my
Go ahead.
For my project, I've actually been working on this project before now, and will continue working on it after now. But I've been developing an app for the city of Lindsborg that people will be able to use when they walk around exploring the town for the 150th anniversary next year. So the app is kind of an extension of a project I did last year, where I'm going to be using augmented reality to power the app and allow people to hold up their phone to a sign on Main Street and have them be able to see information whenever they hold their phone up to a building, so they can get specific historical information on that building. And it's basically like a glorified QR code in the way that it works. And most of my learning will actually be coming later, because while I've used Unity to build apps before, I've never actually published an app on an app store, so that'll be a bit of a learning curve when I come up to it, and that'll be in December. So this is an overview of my project plan. My original plan was to spend the first week building the basic framework, and then the second 2 weeks after that kind of just continuing to work within that framework, adding a few more menus and things. And then on the fourth week to add the drop-down menu in the corner for other options for users to access different menus and things. That plan wasn't exactly followed, but I do think that it was better. Most of the reason why it wasn't followed was because I over or underestimated things, and there was a roadblock in there that caused some time to change a bit. And then I had 3 resources that I used. I had a forum that showed me how to incorporate UIs with Vuforia, which was my augmented reality engine that I incorporated into Unity. And that was important because UIs didn't normally work with Vuforia, and normally it only uses 3D models, which would seem more difficult normally, but actually the UIs, I had to create a custom script to make them work. I also had a tutorial that showed me how to make a fade script, which allowed me to create smooth transitions with UI menus when I activated and deactivated them. And I also had a basic UI wiki because I have not actually worked terribly much with UIs in Unity, and I wanted to make sure I had a backup just in case I got confused.
Okay, you guys know what UI is? Because I know you're like looking at me going, huh?
User interface.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, they do know. All right.
All right. So this is a continuation of my project plan. For software, I use Unity 3D to build the app. I kind of explained what Euphoria is. It's just an add-on that allows me to use augmented reality. I used Photoshop to create custom textures for my menus because I didn't like, and my texture doesn't differ much from the default Unity texture, but I really didn't like the border they had around on the edge. So I used Photoshop to create one that was similar, but it didn't have a border around it. And I haven't used Xcode yet, but I'm going to need it when I build the app for Apple devices, because Apple's crazy like that. You can't just export it out of Unity. So this is kind of my learning curve through each week. For week 1, I began to develop my framework for the app, and I learned, I kind of got in tune with UI elements and how they would be affected with AR through a script. I'll show you on the next slide. And I began to work on the drop-down menu because the framework actually went a whole 2 weeks faster than I expected. So this is actually my augmented reality script for UI.
Which is written in
C#. And this is only a part of it. There's a few other parts that basically tell it to search through Euphoria and look at the camera feed. But this is the main part. And it basically, the top part shows you, well, the top part is telling the script that when it senses that an object it recognizes has been found, it'll change the variable mShowedUI button to true or false. And then, if it's set to true on the bottom, it'll incorporate the fade script, which I created the next week actually. It'll cause it to activate. And the fade script, I'll explain more about it later. Sorry, I'm a little disorganized.
You're doing great.
So for week 2, I created the fade script, and I wanted the fade script because before I had it, when the menus would pop up and go away, it's kind of like a jump scare, very raw transition. So I want it to be more professional and smooth. And then I came up with my largest issue, and for some reason my menus were, you couldn't interact with them anymore. But after a lot of panic and trying to figure out what was up, I finally discovered that because I was using a fade script instead of simply deactivating the menus, the script, the object I was fading was still there, it was just invisible. So it was still, you were still interacting with it instead of menus behind it. So I had to alter my fade script and actually get it to deactivate after it had faded the menu. So this is actually all of my fade script, and basically what this is doing is it creates a function that will change an aspect of the UI menu called a canvas group, and it will change the transparency value of the canvas group up or down depending on what it was previously set at. So that's what the previous script is working with to make the menus appear or disappear. In 3 and 4, I didn't actually do terribly much new learning on weeks 3 and 4. I was adding on to what I'd already
gallery.
done.
You did a ton of stuff with that.
Yeah, I was just finding and adding images into the gallery, and I kind of reformatted my drop-down menu a bit, made it look a bit nicer, and changed button sizes and things like that. So for my reflection, my largest success was actually probably fixing the whole menus problem, because I was really confused and was very worried because I was being paid on this and people were counting on me. So that felt really good. My largest problem was the whole menus not interacting anymore. What I would redo, I would probably find more resources beforehand. That probably could have caused my fix for the menu problem to have gone a little bit faster, because I didn't really have any resources to tell me what to do when I encountered that. In my learning moment, I think that was realizing that I needed more resources when I came across that problem.
That, see, when you said, it faded into nothing and you couldn't see it, I mean, it makes sense, but that would be so hard to try to find and see that in script. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, this is basically a description of what I had earlier. I basically explained everything on the slide. So do I have enough time?
Yeah, we've got 2 minutes before you have to be out of here. Would you want to hit my alarm, turn it off? I always build 2 to 3 minutes in extra for you guys.
All right. So explain that.
Let's see if that'll broadcast. We'll see if it'll work.
Yeah, I got it to work.
Yeah, so you guys remember that you were seeing this when Logan is very famous.
They paid me $700. I technically got $850, but $150 of that is going towards accounts and stuff like that. That's it? Yeah.
I thought you were.
Is this
I'll
the
put
city?
it in
Okay.
I'll put in a word for him dad's on the city council. Don't worry. You're getting money.
Okay, that was a bad idea.
It's not running to run on it, is it?
No, it did. It just didn't like me making it full screen.
Okay, well, don't worry. This.
You should make solo microphones.
Oh, it lets you do. It lets you do cast records.
Yeah, it was working.
You can do screencasts from there.
Yeah, I can do a lot of stuff.
Always got like one of those feeder things.
Okay, just so so while he's working on that, what the app does is besides read, and it's going to provide information about the buildings downtown for our 150th. So the building information also he did the research for and put that together. So you'll.
The city is doing nothing?
No.
And they only paid $7.
Yeah.
Well, I worked it because they were when we agreed to do this. They said they had that research information in place, but it turned out to be kind of like a big.
No, bro. I go back there. I'd demand more money.
Right. Oh.
But actually, the city's not
Curtis,
paying. The art
backpack?
council is.
All right. So this is
the streaming service.
yeah. So this
not
is
the app you made.
Right. That's not it yet.
Well, no, this is the app.
Crazy.
Well, it's showing the app you made.
Yeah.
Okay, so see the menu button up there, guys? See the menu button?
So I'll show you the menu first. I have to get in my bag for an image. But so I click it. The fade script fades the button in and out. Click on gallery.
So there's the gallery. There's like all the pictures from like the old buildings downtown.
Eventually, I'm going to have it. Well, I'm going to try and have it so that when you click on an image, it'll get bigger. I'm not sure how well that'll work because right now I'm having.
I was gonna say that's pretty tough to do.
Well, it's not that that's tough to do, but right now I'm having to use my finger to scroll over the images, so that can get really long.
Right.
But that's the gallery, and I'll show you the AR thing real quick. My red folder.
So like if he's having it set up so that it'll respond to signs that are downtown. So like QR code tags.
This is my parents' store sign rendezvous. If I hold the phone up to a sign, that little blue button will appear on the top, so you don't have to see information. It's kind of hard when you're holding up the sign.
Okay, so see, if he clicks on it, then it gives you information about the content there.
It's easier to read when you have the phone up
Right.
close to you, but that's basically, it tells you what the building originally was, when it was built, and an overall description of that building's history.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah.
Caps. Yeah, do you have caps?
No, I'm doing downtown right now. The first
Do you have caps?
Bad app. That's a bad app.
Caps probably wasn't part of the original downtown, folks.
Bad app.
It's a part of our history.
Logan, that's awesome.
Upon Lynchburg, they found cats.
Give Logan a round of applause, please. Logan, that's amazing.